Ye cannot serve two masters. Why is that? Because there's only one intelligence, one presence, one power that can act, and that is the presence of God acting in me. When I turn to the world of outer manifestations and give all kinds of expressions and appearances power, I am attempting to serve a false usurping master. My ability to lift my hand and the life flowing through the nervous system of my outer form is God in action. I am the light of the world. I am the full activity of God.
Peace, family. Welcome back to another episode. Underground Railroad Productions, man. I haven't done this in a while with the brother Blue Pill, man. We out here in these Brooklyn streets. Man, welcome
Yes, indeed,
to NY,
man.
brother.
Wow, you know, they always talk about the New York. You know, I made it back to the New York, you know what I'm saying? And I did mention the very last time that I was here, serendipitously enough, we were actually in the same location doing the interview. I was in my all white over there, you know, so it's a beautiful thing to come full circle. That's the theme of this year. So, yes, shout out to Brooklyn.
Indeed. Well, we're going to touch on some pop culture topics today.
Indeed.
That, you know, trickles down all of us. You know, music influences all of us. The culture of hip-hop is the most influential culture out there.
On the planet.
Let's start with Kanye, my brother, because
Yes.
I want to touch on the whole Vlad situation, because that's very interesting. I started watching Vlad because of Lord Jamal, so what happened was very interesting. But let's start with Kanye. Music contracts is something we've talked about for a long time. Prince, MJ, all the greats talk about owning their masters. We hear it in certain songs. Yes. We hear about 360 deals. We hear about individuals like Lyle Cohen. And we hear about Dame Dash saying how much of a piece of shit he is. We hear about a lot of things, man. So it's interesting for Ye to come out and say something. It's interesting that some of the biggest name artists in the world are slaves to their contracts. We would think, yo, they own all their shit. He's a billionaire, da-da-da-da. Taylor Swift contract is fucked up, brother. She was beefing and complaining, I think last year or the year before, about her contract.
Famously, yes.
So it's like, wow, it's a lot of people. So listen, Blue, so this is what Kanye wrote. He feels as though there should be a change in, you know, publishing rights, masters, songs, leases, recording labels, all of that stuff. Let me just read you a few things from the mind of Ye. The artist owns the copyright in the recording of songs and leases them to the record label publisher for a limited term, 1-year deals.
Right, this is what he's proposing.
Yes,
right?
This is what he's proposing. 2, the record label publisher is a service provider that receives a share of the income for a limited term. The split can be 80-20 in the artist's favor. 3, dependence. Artists must be dependent on no one but themselves to manage their catalog. You should need no one else to understand the business you are in. 4, lawyers. The first thing that changes about record deals is actually lawyers. We need plain English contracts. A lawyer's role is to approve deals, not charge for contracts we cannot understand or track. Rewrite deals to be understandable from first read. 5, equity and blanket licenses are the majority of future new income. If you are with a major and you have invested your songs as shares in their power to get equity in deals, almost all new deals now are based on all songs going to a store app. The equity is the artist. 5, advances are just loans. On artists re-signing these, stop. Advances are loans with 75% interest rates or worse. No other business in the world takes a look at the business, buys shares, starts to profit when it profits. Record companies have to buy into you, not loan you. So I'll end it there. I mean, that's...
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing thing. You know what I'm saying? That this is 2020. And 2 of the main areas and focus of voluntary slavery, you know what I'm saying, are pretty much at the prime focus this year, whether that's prison reform or music contracts. You know what I'm saying? Because the nature of music contracts is almost identical to indentured servitude, if you would. I wouldn't necessarily say slavery. And it's voluntary. You have to sign that contract, but it's the same story over and over and over again. No one seems to understand the language in these contracts, right? And the majority of artists are very assertive, alpha type individuals. You dig what I'm saying? Especially in hip hop, it's a very braggadocious, I'm a boss. You know what I'm saying? I did X, Y, and Z in the streets to get where I'm at, only to get to a record label to allow somebody who seemingly is not as savvy as you beat you out of all of your earnings. You know what I'm saying? Where these people do not even own their music, let alone their likeness, their names and everything. And we all bore witness to it. We was all in the audience when, Prince was saying this. We was all in the audience when Mike was saying this.
Right.
But like everything else in society, you be like, not me though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's something about what I have to offer that's gonna make me the exception. And continuously we see, like you said, we see individuals get into the industry and become very successful in other areas where now they sitting on billions of dollars, but they don't have their own music. I was blown away when I heard that Jay-Z didn't own his masters, when this was something that he was, he sat upon that as, the clarion call for him bossing up.
Right.
You feel me? And he said that the only masters that he didn't own was Reasonable Doubt, of which Dame still had. And the reason that he signed to Def Jam to be the president is because he got his masters back. But we find out that that's not true, that there's a term, you dig what I'm saying, between that. Now, that stream of thought that Kanye shared was very fluid, it was very coherent. And I think that if he had policies like that for his presidential candidacy, you feel me? How many more people would take him serious? So that doesn't sound like Kanye's mind. It sounds like he was paying it forward. And he has been around some savvy advisors who were able to look at this thing and see it for what it is. But what he is suggesting, it would change the face of music forever. The music is a mafia-run business. You know what I'm saying? The Jewish mafia and the Italian mafia have historically had their hands in a stronghold of music.
Give me some names. The top dogs. Top mafia Jews or Italians.
Edgar Brofman Jr. Laya Cohen.
Is he the top? Is he like? He seems more like he's not. He's in the middle or something like that.
I mean, but when you're talking about people who are still part of that particular conglomerate, and it goes back to even beyond Clive Davis. You know what I'm saying? There was somebody at CBS Records and Atlantic Records. I forget these Jewish individuals'
David Geffen,
names.
is he one of them? Geffen?
David Geffen is part of the Jewish mafia, is part of the gay mafia. You know what I'm saying? And these are things that are categorically known in these industries that, these people control these industries with ironclad fists. And they were handed this from older, Jewish mobsters and Italian mobsters who they've been doing this to jazz musicians. They've been doing this to R&B musicians. You know what I'm saying? Peace, bro. The way that they treat the artists and the way that, you know what I'm saying, they bring in the drugs afterwards. This is the same script they play every time. And when they can't get you like that, then they get rid of you. The Sam Cookes of the world. You know what I'm saying? The Barry Whites. You feel me? These are individuals who asserted themselves. The James Browns, where they actually owned the Michael Jacksons. These individuals were savvy enough to figure out ownership. You know what I'm saying? To figure out how to retain their own publishing, how to buy back other people's publishing. They got a little too close to the pot of gold. You dig what I'm saying? Anytime you start talking ownership, anytime you start talking distribution, and you start, wrestling the nest, you feel me? Then the hornets come flying, and you end up stung. So Kanye's making some very radical, or he is positing some very radical thoughts in the mind of artists about how they can actually go about and get free. You know, now how do you actually execute that? That's a whole nother conversation. He needs the backing of artists. He needs the backing of some bigwigs to say, yes, this is an amazing idea. This sounds better than us coming together and becoming fractional owners of Tidal streaming, right? What about your own contracts, though?
Right.
Because I was always baffled by that, to say, how can these quote unquote artists be owners, quote unquote, if they don't still own their contracts? Because Tidal did nothing to alleviate all of the discrepancies and, you know, the unfairness that majority of these artists were tied into with these contracts. I think that's why Taylor Swift was like, I don't want to have nothing to do with that's just a facade. You know what I'm saying? This don't deal with real ownership.
Right.
It just deals with mechanical royalties. That's streaming. You feel me? And things like that. But what about them record contracts?
Yeah.
What about my name? What about my likeness? What about the fact that I got jerked for my first 6 albums and I don't have no redress from that? And then all of these new artists are getting 360 deals, so they taking percentages out of your merch. They taking percentages out of your touring. They taking, you know, dumb percentages out of your music.
So do you think is the move that Joe Budden did, is that a move in the right direction where he left Spotify? Because, you know, people look at him kind of crazy for that. Like, he got a problem everywhere he go. He got a problem with Complex. He got a problem with Spotify. But is that just what bosses have to do? They have to, you know.
It's going to set a precedent, you know what I'm saying, in terms of how people who are owners, right, get to treat their intellectual property and get to treat, you know, whatever it is that they're bringing to the table, that they are the ones that say, look, this is what the value of this particular piece of product is. Now, some people are saying, oh, well, Joe Budden is overvaluing his quote-unquote product, and there's a chance that he might price himself out of the market by overvaluing his product. Okay, that's his business at the end of the day, and that don't mean that that's how you have to deal with your business. But you do have to see value in your business, and you should be sitting at the head of the table, making people make concessions to you based on what it is that you want.
Right.
If you are the owner, if you are the sole controller of your property, then they should be, you know, meeting you where you want them to meet you at, and not vice versa. So those days, technically, the possibility for those days to be over are here. But who's willing to take that step and be the sacrificial one? Joe Budden's Joe Budden's takes the arrows. You feel me? That's just what he do. He take the arrows. So he like, somebody else gonna come and figure this thing out, and it might work a little bit smoother for them. But I think categorically, yeah, you know, Joe Budden is always gonna take the arrows.
One thing I keep hearing people say, Joe Budden's might have said it, I'm not sure who else said it. Drake is in his, I think he got one more album left in his contract, and they're saying that he could change the entire industry forever if he goes independent. So do you think that's something, I mean, at this point, an artist of his caliber, do you see any sense in him staying signed to a label and not making that independent move?
I mean, that's based on Drake and his business relationships, and I think that he has relationships that extend beyond, you know, what our particular eyes can see. So I think that it wouldn't necessarily benefit him based on his business and his relationships to be the one that shakes up the industry. I think that he is very much supported by constituents from that particular industry that wish that industry to not be disrupted at that level. He got, you know, I think he got some favors that he owe. You feel me?
Right,
and I don't foresee him upending the music industry like that. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't seem to be an artist that necessarily does it for the money. You feel me? So him making a money play like that, which is going to potentially, once again, disrupt the hornet's nest of people that are part of his own ethnic group, I don't really see him doing that.
Indeed. Well, I mean, it's just I'm glad to see. I mean, there's so much change happening this year, Blue. So much,
yes.
so much change. This has been the most interesting year I could remember, my brother. So it's just good to see it happening. Another thing, this with Vlad, the situation with Vlad, and I seen a clip with Jeffrey, comedian Jeffrey, and
Godfrey.
Godfrey. I'm sorry, I said Jeffrey. Godfrey and Lord Jamal, and Lord Jamal was he kept saying how we need to stay on code with each other, and that's a term Tariq recently popularized that term. I believe Nelly Fuller introduced that to our community.
Yeah, shout out to Nelly Fuller Jr.
Yeah,
right.
And could you tell somebody who may not know before we get into this, what exactly is staying on code, Brother Blue Pill?
It's a euphemism that describes us being in unison with whatever we collectively agree upon is our goal and objective. You know what I'm saying? And for some reason in this culture, we believe that that's unspoken. So we all telepathically supposed to know what that's about. You know what I'm saying? But people still be like, well, what's the code so I can stay on it? You feel me? And I think that, you know, if you from the turf, if you from the dirt, you kind of supposed to know what the code is. You know, you not being on code is something that you got to hide and do. Something that makes you uncomfortable. Something that makes you change your voice. You know what I'm saying? Those things would not necessarily be on code. And sticking together as melanated people in a white dominated industry, right? And going at it to a degree where, you know, we being rebellious, we raging against the machine. You know what I'm saying? And the only way that they could take us down is if they take us down, you know, individually, but collectively they can't take us down together. So staying on code means, look, let us form this unified front, right? Where the power of the fist is that much more stronger than them breaking down a pinky. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would imagine that that's the code. They're speaking in code about staying on code without openly saying what the strategy is so it could be intercepted. You feel me? And that comes from hip hop. Like, you know what I mean? Hip hop be like, duh. Like you just say a grunt or something. You know what I mean? You just say an ad lib and we supposed to understand, like, okay, I understand what that's about. You don't rock with homie too tough. You know, hip hop was our underground language, if you would. You know what I'm saying? It was our slang. So I find it funny, you know, once again, that we are in the industry of hip hop. We are in the industry of music. And once again, you know, people are attempting to find freedom, you know what I'm saying, to not only run up in Master's house and burn it down or run off the plantation, but, you know, eventually they're going to talk about competing with the plantation, you know, not setting up another plantation, but saying, look, you know, let's set a situation up right next to this plantation where we're actually paying our workers, you feel me, and competing and putting this plantation out of business. That's where I hope that this conversation ultimately goes. You know what I mean? That we figure out how to create something that's alternative to the music industry, especially since it's now digitally based. And you know, we force their hands like that because if they don't have no competition, if they don't have no incentive to come to the table, right? If they don't have no reason to give nobody their freedom back, why would they do that? And it's been working so good for them for so long, right? And then they telling us, oh, well, the music business is suffering. So what has been working so long for them is not necessarily even working that well for them anymore. But then now they supposed to just give people they walking papers, they freedom.
Indeed. In terms of Vlad,
yes,
I remember earlier, I don't know if it was last year, he made that disrespectful Dr. Sabi comment.
Yes.
And people got real upset. So now, Vlad, who seems totally clueless a lot of times about black culture, and it's amazing to me that he has such a huge platform in black culture. So that's kind of weird, but
yes,
blatantly lied on the minister Farrakhan blatantly misquoted him.
Yes.
Tried to make him what pretty much a lot of the white media does, made him out to be a hateful and to be a racist or whatever, and then never really apologized about it, but took a little while, put out some bullshit statement on his website saying that he misquoted him or something like
Right.
that. So I seen a video with Lord Jamal saying that Vlad says he's not apologizing,
Right.
and Lord Jamal says he feels as though he want him to apologize, and that we have to stay on code the same way they stay on code when Nick Cannon says something and they got him going. Nick Cannon's still apologizing.
Still.
I seen he's still quoting Jewish books and saying this or that, so he's still technically apologizing. If you want to look at that as apologizing, but
I saw him say out of his own mouth in the Kanye video, he's still atoning.
that's okay.
He said
So
it himself. Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah.
So is there anything wrong? Two questions. Is there anything wrong with what they did to Nick Cannon? And number two, should we be like that in our community? Should we make people stay on code?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We should be, again, and I mean, everybody's not going to do this, so this conversation is not for everyone, but for those amongst us who are the thought leaders, for those of us, who do have a vision as to, where we can take a collective of our people who we want to not be game goofy on a global stage, then we would say, let's study, right? Let's observe these people. Let's make an observation and study what makes them so effective, right? They conquer industry, okay, by getting inside of it, right, and figuring out, right, instead of saying, look, I'm not going to be the one that goes and dig the gold. I'm going to sell the shovels. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be the one that weighs it. I'm going to be this. So you have to find areas that are overlooked that become game changers in industry. And then once you have that particular industry locked in and you deal with crony capitalism, meaning that you put your family in all of these particular positions where, you don't even not just have this industry locked down, but this industry is feeding everybody in your family. And then you have this particular industry promoting all of these brands or things that are associated, you know what I'm saying, with these outer industries that your family's involved with. And then you take that money, that power, and that influence, and you create these steering committees like the ADL. The ADL is a steering committee. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to steer this focus and attention over here.
Right.
You can't say nothing over here, right? They're like 3M. They can't get wet. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody getting wet. It's an umbrella. You dig what I'm saying? So we need to form a melanated version of the ADL, right? Where we defend those who have sacrificed and who have put arduous work in for us, especially those who have put the work in that are contrary or counter, whatever the quote-unquote dominant culture is. Because hip-hop is a counterculture. Hip-hop is a voice for counterculture. Melanated people in this particular extreme that deal with that genre are counterculturists. You feel me? So, yes, there wouldn't be no medical accreditation for somebody like a Dr. Sabi. So we wouldn't expect for someone like a DJ Vlad, you feel me, to validate the work of someone who comes to community and says, look, I'm going to put this level of work in for y'all. This ain't nothing like what they doing. So don't expect, you know what I'm saying, no titles or no accreditations or no cosigns to come from there. It is the same thing with Farrakhan. There's nothing that Farrakhan technically stands on, propagates, that would make DJ Vlad comfortable. Because a well-oiled society or culture that resonates on a frequency that Minister Farrakhan represents, they would not have a DJ Vlad in a position that he is in, propagating the lowest common denominator of melanated people to our babies every single day. You understand? The way that he glamorizes the gangster lifehood. Now, that's not his weight to bear by himself, right? I cannot with a straight face say, oh, DJ Vlad is responsible for us highlighting the lowest common denominator amongst our society. You know what I'm saying? He's not the first person that figured out that Black Death sells. You know what I mean? He just put the spin on it. You feel me? He just polished it up. He put it on a larger platform and he stayed consistent with it. Al Prophet does it. DJ Smalls before him. Julia Beverly did it. You know what I'm saying? Dave Mays did it. Right? They've all done it. And hip hop as a culture has lapped it up. They've eaten it up. They can't get enough of it. Larger conglomerates have done it. BET did it. American Gangster. You understand? So you can't lay all of the blame on Vlad. Vlad picked up an operative model and he ran with it. You understand? And because the culture itself is so unbalanced, you can't necessarily even bring him to the table and say, we need balance from you, Vlad. You feel me? Or what about all of these artists then? What about all of these releases? You know what I'm saying?
Will you look at artists like Lil Boosie and different now if you see or hear they're still on Vlad? Will that make you have less respect for them, considering what's going on in our culture right now?
Yeah, it's funny how, you know, and I sat there, I watched Stroke No Joke commentary on it. I didn't see all of Lord Jamal's commentary, but you know, they was like clowns if you go on it, but nobody said Boosie by his name. Nobody was like, yo, Lil Boosie, you know, if you go on Vlad, you code switching, you canceled, you a clown, you this, you that. So, you know, I think that it's a conversation that hip hop has to have with itself. You know what I'm saying? It's a conversation that hip hop has to have with itself in 2020 about imagery and responsibility, you know what I mean? And what it is that we're willing to no longer do, you know what I'm saying? Just for peanuts, just for exposure, just for a little look, right? When it's supposed to be the year where we come into our power or understand that we have some power to come into. You feel me? And you know, you gotta try it on and see how it looks on you, and you feel me? Like, there's a lot that goes along with that. People are just not gonna pop into position and all of a sudden, you know, start jumping directly into their revolutionary mindset. Now, I don't rule it out for Boosie, but Boosie don't have access to his IG. Boosie got monetary decisions that Boosie might have to make. You feel me? Vlad might be the outlet that's necessary for him to stay legitimate in the eyes of his base. You know, but I really would hope that Boosie, along with other individuals who we can count on to say, look, y'all look a lot stronger as a unified front. You know what I'm saying? You know, I heard some commentary. I didn't see the interview with my son and Royce 5'9". Did you?
Nah, I've heard some things, man. I really hope my son ain't say what I heard he said. So
yeah. So, you know, all of that, you know what I'm saying? All of that has to come to pass to some degree. Somebody needs a big homie check. Like, you know, it's not on me to say, because I've been canceled Vlad for his disrespect to Dr. Sabi. You know what I'm saying? And he got the answer for that. It's not like, oh, he's just canceled. It's like, nah. You got an answer for that. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that these Negroes is not attempting, you know what I'm saying, to like, you want to position yourself in between that. You feel me? Because you got a friendship with this white boy?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that. But maybe it's not for me to understand. At the same time, there are people who know these individuals that are qualified to have a conversation with them, to kind of like explain what the bigger picture is. You feel me? What the bigger picture is. And I think somebody, we know a brother like my son is strong on loyalty. You know what I mean? And loyalty goes far with that brother. So I get it. You know, he's like, yo, that's my man outside of just music. He probably done some things for him that really showed him where his heart was at in regards to being there for him. I would just say, you know, if he would disrespect the minister, right? And we've seen him disrespect other iconic melanated people, you feel me? There's little to nobody that he wouldn't disrespect in the culture, because the culture is not respected. It doesn't mitigate a level of respect where no one feels like do something. You know what I'm saying? There's no rules. I mean, and that's the weird thing about the code, is like the code sounds great, but the codes normally go along with rules, right? Like the mafia has a code because the mafia has rules that supposed to be enforced, right? The police have codes because they have a wall of silence that is enforced, right? You break that code, there's going to be repercussions. So we're throwing these concepts around, but what are the repercussions for anybody breaking these particular rules, right? Your rules got to be dangerous, and the consequence got to be even more dangerous. So I just leave it at that.
Leave your contact information, my brother.
At Blue Pillar 44, PILLAR. Look, we got fake pages out there. It's how I said it. Blue Pillar 44. There's no underscores or gaps in between that. Blue Pillar 44 at gmail.com. Goldwater.com. GOLDEWATER. Right? At goldwater.com. We got new products on the market. Right? That's that all-time favorite right there. But yeah, we got some new things for the family. Oh, that's that vitamin C moss. And this is the fall equinox, so you know we have to be extra mindful just to remind the family, you know what I'm saying, to prioritize their health. I just got back to New York and seeing so many people, you know, just face masked up, you know what I mean, and just looking distressful, you know what I mean, like,
yeah, man,
just really looking like they don't have no answers, you know what I mean, just herded like
the New York
cattle. Yeah.
What's that?
That's
now?
sports moss.
Sports moss,
right? Cordyceps, sea moss, some other amazing ingredients that really give athletic peak performance. You know, so the brothers that's doing pull-ups and push-ups in the family, just be mindful. Even though we're moving into the fall seasons, keep your workout going, keep your exercise going. Do not become sedentary. Even if they go into a phase 3 lockdown, find ways to continuously move yourself, keep yourself warm. I think it's going to be a very cold winter, you know what I'm saying? So make sure that you're doing things that are keeping your internal flame lit. You know, for those that meditated with us on the 7-day Kundalini, don't lose that energy. Keep it going. You know, get out there still and wake up with the sun and sun gaze. No matter how cold it gets, you feel me? Still tap in. Just allow yourself, put yourself on that regiment, and don't lose focus. Peace, love, and light.
Peace.
Ye cannot serve two masters. Why is that? Because there is only one intelligence, one presence, one power that can act, and that is the presence of God acting in me. When I turn to the world of outer manifestations and give all kinds of expressions and appearances power, I am attempting to serve a false usurping master. My ability to lift my hand and the life flowing through the nervous system of my outer form is God in action. I am the light of the world. I am the full activity of